The sterile laboratories of the Nexus Coalition had analyzed thousands of relics from dead civilizations, but Dr. Elena Vasquez had never seen anything that made her hands shake like this. Deep in the ice fields of Europa, her excavation team had found something that the history book said was impossible: a perfectly preserved human cryopod, still active after 3 centuries. What they didn't know was that the sleeping woman inside wasn't just humanity's last survivor, she was humanity's final message to the universe. The year was 2387, and Earth was nothing more than a cautionary tale told to children across the Nexus Coalition's sprawling empire. 300 years ago, humanity had destroyed itself in what historians called the Great Collapse, a planet-wide environmental and societal breakdown that had wiped out the species in less than a decade. The Coalition, a union of 7 advanced alien civilizations, had inherited the solar system and turned it into a museum of failure. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the Coalition's leading xenarchaeologist, specialized in studying extinct species. Her 4 arms moved with practiced efficiency as she documented the latest discovery in the European ice fields. The Colorian research team had been mining for rare isotopes when their thermal scanners detected an anomaly buried 2 kilometers beneath the surface. "Another human artifact," muttered Commander Vex, the station's Vorhan military overseer. His crystalline exoskeleton gleamed under the artificial lights as he towered over Elena's workstation. "Why do we waste resources studying a species that couldn't even survive their own planet?" Elena's large, compound eyes focused on the scanner readings. As a member of the insectoid Zerati species, she was naturally methodical and curious traits that had made her the Coalition's foremost expert on dead civilizations. "Because understanding failure prevents repetition, Commander. The humans left behind fascinating technology before their extinction. The object they'd found was undeniably human in origin." The sleek, silver cryopod bore the distinctive geometric patterns that humans had used in their final century. But what made Elena's breathing slits flutter with excitement was the readout on her scanner. The pod was still active, its biosigns showing a single human life form in perfect stasis. "Impossible," whispered Dr. Keth, Elena's Altarian assistant. His blue, translucent skin flickered with the bioluminescent patterns that indicated intense curiosity. Human cryotechnology was primitive. Nothing could survive 3 centuries in stasis with their crude systems. Elena circled the pod, her 4 hands taking measurements from every angle. The technology was definitely human, but it was unlike anything in the Coalition's extensive database of human artifacts. The power source was completely unknown. The biomonitoring systems were decades ahead of anything humans had been capable of, and the preservation matrix showed 0 degradation. After 300 years, "There's something else," Elena announced, her voice tight with excitement. "Look at the identification markings." Etched into the pod's surface in multiple human languages was a single designation: Project Gaia, Final Protocol, Dr. Sarah Chun. Classification: Absolute. Commander Vex leaned closer, his voice skeptical. Another human scientist. Probably some bureaucrat who thought wealth could buy them immortality while their planet died around them. But Elena wasn't convinced. In all her years studying human artifacts, she'd never seen classification levels above secret. This absolute designation was entirely new. More concerning was the name Project Gaia. In human mythology, Gaia was their word for the Earth itself as a living entity. "Commander," Elena said carefully, "I recommend we transport this pod to the primary research facility on Titan. This could be the most significant human discovery in Coalition history." "Why?" Vex demanded. "It's just another dead human from a dead species." Elena's compound eyes fixed on the bio readings one more time. The life signs weren't just stable, they were perfect. Heart rate, brain activity, cellular regeneration, everything was functioning at levels that seemed impossible for any organic being, let alone a human. Because, Elena said quietly, I don't think she's dead at all. And I don't think the humans were as primitive as we believed. The decision to wake the human was made at the highest levels of Coalition command. Within 48 hours, the pod was transported to the Titan Research Complex, the Coalition's most advanced scientific facility. Representatives from all 7 member species arrived to witness what they expected would be a simple anthropological curiosity, the revival of humanity's last survivor. Elena stood in the sterile observation chamber, surrounded by the Coalition's most brilliant minds. The cryopod had been connected to the facility's bio-support systems, and every scanner, monitor, and recording device was focused on the sleeping figure inside Dot through the transparent aluminum viewing panel. They could see her clearly for the first time. The human appeared to be female, approximately 30 years of age by human standards. Her skin was pale from the long sleep, her black hair cut in a practical short style. She wore what appeared to be a simple gray uniform with no visible rank or identification markings. Unremarkable, observed General Korax, the Coalition's supreme military commander. His reptilian saurian features showed mild disappointment. I expected something more impressive from humanity's final survivor. Dr. Yeth, the Coalition's chief xenobiologist, was monitoring the revival process. Vital signs are stabilizing. Brain activity is returning to normal patterns. Beginning consciousness restoration in 3, 2, 1. The pod's lid opened with a soft pneumatic hiss. Vapor rose from the interior as the preservation atmosphere mixed with the chamber's recycled air. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the human's chest began to rise and fall with steady breathing. Her eyes opened. They were brown, unremarkable by human standards, but as she looked around the chamber, Elena felt something she'd never experienced while studying any extinct species. The distinct impression that she was being studied in return. The human sat up slowly, moving with the careful precision of someone testing their body after a long sleep. She showed no signs of confusion, panic, or disorientation. Instead, she calmly observed each of the alien faces staring down at her through the observation windows. "Good morning," she said in perfect Coalition standard, her voice clear and steady. "My name is Dr. Sarah Chun. I've been waiting to meet you." The chamber fell silent. The human shouldn't have known Coalition standard. The language had been developed 2 centuries after humanity's extinction. She shouldn't have been calm and alert after 3 centuries in cryosleep. And she definitely shouldn't have been waiting for them. Elena's hands trembled as she realized that everything the Coalition believed about humanity might be completely wrong. Dr. Sarah Chun stepped out of the cryopod with fluid grace, her movements showing none of the muscle atrophy or disorientation that should have followed 3 centuries of stasis. Elena watched through the observation window as Sarah stretched, her joints making no sound of stiffness or pain. "Remarkable," Dr. Yeth whispered into his communicator. "No signs of cryosickness, no muscle degradation, no cognitive impairment. Her cellular structure appears to have been perfectly preserved." Sarah looked directly at the observation window, as if she could see through the one-way transparent aluminum. "Dr. Vasquez, isn't it? I recognize your work on the Kepler archive. Your paper on extinct civilization preservation techniques was quite insightful." Elena's breathing slits contracted in shock. The Kepler archive was classified Coalition research, and her papers were restricted to seniors and archaeologists. No human should have had access to that information, especially not one who had been asleep for 3 centuries. Commander Thex activated the chamber's communication system. "Human, you will remain calm and cooperative. You are under Coalition protection as the last known survivor of your species." Sarah smiled, a gentle, almost maternal expression. Thank you for your concern, Commander Vex. Though I should mention, I'm not actually the last survivor. But we can discuss that later. She walked to the chamber's medical scanner and placed her hand on the activation panel. I assume you'd like to run some tests? I'm happy to cooperate. The casual way she operated Coalition technology sent another ripple of unease through the observation chamber. Human tech interfaces were completely different from Coalition systems. Yet Sarah had activated the scanner as if she'd used it 1,000 times before. Dr. Yeth began the standard post-revival examination. Please state your full name and last memory before entering cryosleep. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Dr. Sarah Chun, Director of Planetary Sciences for Project Gaia. My last memory is entering the stasis pod on March 15, 2087, at the Yellowstone Research Facility. Sarah's answers were precise, but Elena noticed something odd. She showed no curiosity about how long she'd been asleep or what had happened to Earth. You've been in stasis for 300 years, Dr. Yeth informed her. Your planet suffered complete ecological collapse. Humanity is extinct. Sarah nodded thoughtfully, as if receiving expected news. Yes, the timeline matches our projections. The Cascade failure began in 2081, reached critical mass by 2085. We estimated the biosphere would collapse completely by 2090. She looked at Elena again. I assume the Coalition moved in to study the remains? Standard xenoarchaeological protocols would suggest a 50-year quarantine period before full excavation. Elena felt her 4 hearts skip simultaneously. Sarah was describing classified Coalition procedures with perfect accuracy. How do you know our protocols? Lucky guess, Sarah replied with that same gentle smile. But something flickered in her brown eyes, an intelligence that seemed far too deep for someone who should have been centuries out of touch with galactic civilization. The medical scanner beeped, displaying results that made Dr. Yeth's bioluminescent patterns flicker in confusion. This can't be right. According to these readings, your cellular structure has been enhanced at the molecular level. Your bone density is 3 times normal human parameters. Your neural pathways show optimization, patterns I've never seen in any organic species. Sarah examined the readouts with interest. Fascinating. The integration worked better than we hoped. Integration? General Korax leaned forward from the observation chamber. Integration with what? Oh, various systems. Nothing too dramatic. Sarah moved to the chamber's environmental controls and began adjusting atmospheric composition and gravity settings with practiced ease. I hope you don't mind. Standard Earth atmosphere is a bit thin for optimal performance. Elena watched in growing alarm as Sarah modified Coalition technology that should have been completely alien to her. Dr. Chun, how are you able to operate our systems? Pattern recognition, Sarah replied, though she was clearly being evasive. Humans are good at adapting to new technology. As she spoke, the chamber's air recyclers began humming more efficiently. The gravity adjustment created a subtle field that seemed to make everyone in the observation room feel more alert and focused. Even the lighting shifted to a warmer spectrum that was somehow more pleasant than the standard Coalition illumination. Commander Vex's voice carried a note of suspicion. You're improving our technology. Just minor optimizations, Sarah said modestly. I have a lot of experience with environmental systems. But Elena was studying the technical readouts, and what she saw made her compound eyes widen in shock. Sarah hadn't just adjusted the systems, she had upgraded them. The efficiency improvements were so elegant and sophisticated that they represented advances beyond current Coalition capabilities. Dr. Yeth attempted another scan, this time focusing on Sarah's brain activity. The results were even more disturbing. Neural processing speed is approximately 4 times the human baseline recorded in our databases. Memory capacity appears to be enhanced beyond known organic limits. And there's something else. He paused, double-checking his readings. Her brain shows integration with non-biological components. Sarah tilted her head curiously. Is that unusual? For humans? Impossible. Your species never developed neural augmentation technology. Oh, Sarah said with that enigmatic smile. We developed quite a few things that didn't make it into your historical records. Elena felt a chill run through her exoskeleton. The gentle, cooperative human who claimed to be a simple scientist was demonstrating capabilities that exceeded anything in coalition science. She was operating their technology better than they could, improving systems that had taken centuries to develop, and showing brain modifications that shouldn't have existed. And she was doing it all with the calm confidence of someone who had been expecting this exact situation. Dr. Chun, Elena asked carefully, what exactly was Project Gaia? Sarah's brown eyes met Elena's compound gaze, and for just a moment, the mask of gentle humanity seemed to slip. Something vast and calculating looked back at Elena, something that felt ancient and patient and utterly non-human. Project Gaia, Sarah said softly, was humanity's attempt to ensure that Earth would never be alone in the universe again. Before anyone could ask what that meant, alarms began sounding throughout the facility. Emergency lights bathed the chamber in red as an automated voice announced, multiple system anomalies detected. Unknown energy signatures spreading through facility networks. All personnel report to emergency stations. Sarah looked genuinely concerned. Oh dear, I hope that's not my fault. Sometimes the integration process has unexpected side effects. She placed her hand on the chamber's main control panel, and the alarms immediately stopped. There, that should stabilize things. Elena stared at the control readouts in horror. Sarah had just interfaced with the facility's entire computer network through a simple touch. And according to the system diagnostics, she hadn't just stopped the alarms, she had somehow improved the efficiency of every connected system in the complex. Dr. Chun, Elena whispered, what are you? Sarah's smile was still gentle, still human, but her eyes held depths that seemed to encompass centuries of patient waiting. I'm exactly what humanity needed me to be, she said. And I think it's time we had a longer conversation about why you really found me. The emergency meeting convened within an hour. Elena sat in the conference chamber, watching holographic projections of coalition officials materialize around the table. All eyes were on her disturbing data about Dr. Sarah Chun. Let me understand this, said Chancellor Vex, her crystalline form pulsing with skeptical energy. This human survived 300 years in primitive cryostasis and somehow knows classified coalition technology. Elena's 4 hands gestured nervously. It gets worse. Her neural scans show integration with technology we can't identify. The sophistication exceeds anything in our databases. General Corax's reptilian features showed concern. And she claims there are other survivors? She was vague, but said, I'm not actually the last survivor. She also mentioned humanity developed technologies that didn't make it into our historical records. Meanwhile, Sarah was systematically interfacing with every device in her quarters. She touched the communication console, its processing speed doubled. She adjusted environmental controls. The air recycling achieved perfect efficiency. At the laboratory workstation, the entire apparatus upgraded itself beyond coalition specifications. Dr. Yef, monitoring through sensors, reported to the session. She's not just using our technology, she's evolving it. Every system she touches becomes more advanced than our engineers thought possible. The technical analysis revealed systematic improvements following patterns that suggested understanding of principles the coalition barely comprehended. Sarah's modifications weren't random. They demonstrated mastery of scientific concepts beyond their knowledge. She's rewritten molecular filtration algorithms to process atmospheric components we didn't know existed, Dr. Yeth explained. She's revealed gaps in our understanding of basic chemistry. Elena felt dread building. Where had a supposedly primitive human acquired this knowledge? Sarah requested a private meeting, claiming readiness to discuss historical clarifications. Elena found her calmly designing something on the holographic display, a complete redesign of the facility's power core that would increase output tenfold while eliminating radiation. Dr. Vasquez, thank you for coming, Sarah said without turning. I've made improvements to your quantum resonance chambers. They were operating at only 60% efficiency. Elena stared at the impossible design. Dr. Chun, where did you learn quantum engineering? Sarah turned around. Elena's breathing slits contracted. Sarah's brown eyes now contained silver flecks, metallic patterns that definitely hadn't been there before. Excellent question. I think it's time I told you about Project Gaia. Sarah gestured for Elena to sit. What do you know about humanity's final years? Environmental collapse led to societal breakdown. Wars, starvation, ecological devastation. Your species went extinct fighting over scraps. Sarah nodded. That's the story we wanted you to find. Do you really think a species capable of interstellar travel would simply die when faced with extinction? Elena's exoskeleton chilled. What do you mean wanted us to find? Project Gaia wasn't research, it was contingency planning. When Earth's biosphere became unsalvageable, we faced a choice: evacuate in hope, or ensure humanity survived in a different form. Different form? Sarah's silver eye patterns were clearly visible now, forming shifting geometric designs. We chose integration. Biological and technological synthesis on an unprecedented scale. Integration with what? With Earth itself. We converted the entire planetary ecosystem into a distributed biological computer. Every tree, every microorganism, every grain of soil became part of a network designed to preserve human consciousness. The implications struck Elena like physical blows. The Great Collapse wasn't environmental destruction, it was transformation. We triggered conversion ourselves. To observers, it appeared like collapse and extinction. Reality, we uploaded humanity into the planetary matrix. Elena struggled to process this, but coalition studies showed Earth is dead. Sarah's smile held vast patience. Dead to conventional scans, but you've been living above the largest biological computer in the solar system for 3 centuries. Every soil sample, every atmospheric reading, all carefully monitored and analyzed. By whom? By Earth, by humanity. By 8.2 billion human consciousnesses that chose integration over extinction. Sarah touched the workstation. The facility's network displayed data streams Elena had never seen. We've watched the coalition since arrival. Studied your technology, culture, weaknesses. Elena backed toward the door. You're saying humanity isn't extinct. We're very much alive. Just waiting for the right moment to reintroduce ourselves. Sarah's voice carried harmonics from multiple sources. Waiting for what? Sarah's eyes were more silver than brown data. Streams flowing through metallic patterns like living circuitry. For coalition dependence on our solar system. For your infrastructure to become so intertwined with Earth-based resources that separation would be economically catastrophic. Elena realized the horrifying implication. The rare isotopes from Europa, quantum crystals from Mars, all connected to Earth's biomatrix. Every piece of coalition technology built here has been quietly enhanced by human integration protocols. You've used hybrid human-alien technology for decades without knowing. The lights dimmed, then brightened to warm golden spectrum. Sarah wasn't just interfacing with their technology, she was revealing it had been partially human all along. What do you want? Elena whispered. Sarah gazed at stars beyond Titan's atmosphere. Elena followed her gaze and noticed something that stopped her heart. The stars were moving, shifting into precise geometric patterns. What we've always wanted, Sarah said softly. To ensure Earth and humanity are never alone again. Elena stared at the repositioning lights, realizing they weren't stars. They were ships. Thousands arranged in perfect formation around the solar system. Ships that had been hidden, waiting, watching. How long? Elena whispered. How long have we surrounded your fleets? About 15 minutes after you entered the system, 3 centuries ago. Sarah turned back, eyes completely silver and filled with flowing data. I think it's time you contacted Coalition High Command. We need to discuss some things. Within 3 hours, every major coalition leader had arrived at Titan via emergency quantum transport. The massive conference chamber buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from all 7 species gathered to confront what they now understood might be an existential threat. Sarah entered the chamber alone, still wearing her simple gray uniform. But everything else about her had changed. Her eyes were now completely silver, flowing with visible data streams. Her movements carried an otherworldly precision, and when she spoke, her voice resonated with harmonics that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Honored leaders of the coalition, Sarah said, her tone respectful but carrying undertones of vast power. Thank you for gathering so quickly. I believe it's time we discuss the future of this solar system. General Korax leaned forward aggressively. Human, you will explain the meaning of the ships surrounding our fleets. Are we under attack? Sarah smiled, the same gentle expression, but now it held depths that seemed ancient and calculating. Attack? General, if we wanted to attack, this conversation would be unnecessary. She gestured toward the chamber's main display. May I? Without waiting for permission, Sarah placed her hand on the control interface. Immediately, the holographic projectors activated, showing a 3-dimensional map of the entire solar system. Thousands of points of light surrounded every coalition ship, station, and facility. Each light represents a human vessel, Sarah explained calmly. We've been maintaining watch over every coalition asset in our solar system for 3 centuries. Your most advanced stealth ships, your hidden military installations, your classified research facilities, all of them are currently surrounded by technology you cannot detect. Chancellor Vex's crystalline form pulsed with alarm patterns. Impossible. Our sensors would have detected any large fleet movements. Would they? Sarah's eyes flashed brighter. Suddenly, every screen in the chamber began displaying real-time footage from coalition ships and stations. In each image, sleek vessels materialized from apparent empty space, their hull designs unlike anything in coalition databases. We've been using active camouflage based on quantum field manipulation, Sarah continued conversationally. Your sensors detect what we want them to detect. We've also been feeding false readings to your navigation systems, ensuring you never accidentally stumbled across our installations. Dr. Yeth was frantically analyzing the displayed ships, the energy signatures. They're unlike anything in our databases. The propulsion systems alone represent technological advances we haven't achieved. 300 years of dedicated research and development, Sarah confirmed. While you believed humanity was extinct, we were advancing beyond anything you could imagine. Elena found her voice. Sarah, Dr. Chun, what do you want from us? Sarah's expression softened slightly. Dr. Vasquez, you've always been respectful in your archaeological work. You treated human artifacts with dignity, even when you believed we were extinct. That's why this conversation is happening peacefully. She turned to address the full assembly. For 3 centuries, we've watched the coalition establish infrastructure throughout our solar system. We've observed your politics, your conflicts, your expansion patterns. We've integrated ourselves into your technology, your communication networks, your economic systems. General Korak stood abruptly. "You've been spying on us." "We've been protecting ourselves," Sarah corrected firmly. For the first time, her gentle demeanor cracked, revealing something vast and implacable beneath. "Your species entered our home system and declared it conquered territory. You built your facilities on the bones of our civilization. You studied our remains like museum pieces." The temperature in the chamber dropped several degrees. Every electronic system began displaying the same message in perfect coalition standard. "Earth remembers." "However," Sarah continued, her voice returning to its calm tone, "we've chosen patience over revenge. We understand that you believed you were claiming empty territory. We allowed you to build here because it served our purposes." Chancellor Vex's patterns flickered rapidly. "What purposes?" "Integration," Sarah said simply. "Your technology has been steadily improving through its exposure to our biomatrix. Your people have been breathing Earth-processed air, consuming Earth-filtered water, using equipment enhanced by human innovations. After 3 centuries, the Coalition's infrastructure in this system is more human than alien." Elena realized the terrifying implications. "You've been changing us." "Improving you," Sarah corrected. "Your lifespans have increased by an average of 30% since establishing solar system colonies. Your technology operates more efficiently. Your agriculture produces higher yields. We've been slowly optimizing Coalition civilization." She gestured again, and the display showed detailed biological and technological analyses. Every Coalition citizen who has spent more than 5 years in this system now carries microscopic human biotechnology in their cellular structure. Nothing harmful, think of it as a gift. The chamber erupted in alarm. Representatives shouted in multiple languages while their translators struggled to keep up. General Korak was demanding immediate military response. Chancellor Vex was calling for emergency evacuation protocols. Sarah raised her hand, and every voice fell silent. The gesture hadn't been threatening, but something in her presence commanded absolute attention. "Please, calm yourselves," she said. "The integration is beneficial. It's also irreversible and self-propagating. Every Coalition citizen who returns to their home worlds will carry this improvement with them. Within 50 years, your entire civilization will be enhanced whether you remain here or not." The silence was deafening. "You're infecting our entire species," Elena whispered. "We're uplifting your entire species," Sarah replied matter-of-factly. "Humanity always believed in cooperation over conquest. We're simply ensuring that cooperation is inevitable." She stood, and her silver eyes swept across every face in the chamber. "The choice before you is simple. You can work with us willingly, and we'll help you build a civilization that spans galaxies. Or you can resist and discover exactly why Earth chose to become a weapon rather than a victim." The lights dimmed, and through the chamber windows, they could see the human ships beginning to move. Thousands of vessels shifted into attack formations with mechanical precision. "What will it be?" Sarah asked softly. The silence stretched for exactly 17 seconds before General Korak made the worst possible decision. "Coalition Fleet Command. This is General Korak. Execute Protocol 7. All military assets are to target the human vessels immediately." Sarah's silver eyes flashed brighter, and she tilted her head with something resembling pity. "General, I really wish you hadn't done that." The chamber's displays instantly showed feeds from Coalition warships throughout the system. Massive dreadnoughts powered up their weapons, targeting the nearest human vessels. Energy cannons charged to full power, quantum torpedoes armed, and shield generators hummed to maximum capacity. The Coalition's finest warships opened fire. Simultaneously, their weapons passed harmlessly through empty space. Every human ship had simply vanished. "Phase displacement technology," Sarah explained conversationally as the Coalition commanders stared in disbelief. We shift slightly out of normal spacetime when threatened. Your weapons are hitting our dimensional echoes, not us. Before anyone could respond, the human vessels reappeared, but now they were inside the Coalition ships. The display feeds showed impossible scenes. Sleek human craft materializing within the command bridges, engine rooms, and weapon bays of Coalition dreadnoughts. Not breaking through hulls or forcing entry, but simply existing where they hadn't been moments before. How? Dr. Yeth whispered. Quantum tunneling on a macro scale, Sarah replied. We learned to treat matter as a probability field rather than solid reality. Useful for bypassing defenses that assume conventional physics. General Corax was frantically issuing orders to his fleet, but every communication channel now carried the same response. Unable to comply. Human vessels have assumed control of all ship systems. Sarah gestured, and the display showed Coalition crew members standing frozen on their own bridges, not harmed but unable to move. Localized neural inhibition fields, she explained. Your people are perfectly safe, just temporarily inconvenienced while we demonstrate a point. Chancellor Vex's crystalline structure was resonating with panic frequencies. You're holding our entire fleet hostage. I'm preventing unnecessary casualties, Sarah corrected. If your ships had actually managed to damage our vessels, we would have been forced to respond proportionally. Trust me, you wouldn't want to see humanity's military capabilities at full deployment. Elena watched the displays in horror. Coalition. Ships that had taken decades to build, vessels that represented the pinnacle of their military engineering, had been neutralized in seconds without firing a shot in return. This isn't possible, General Corax muttered. Our intelligence reports show human technology was primitive when you went extinct. Sarah's expression grew cold. General, your intelligence reports were written by us. Every historical document about humanity's final years, every archaeological analysis, every scientific paper about human capabilities, all of it was carefully curated information that we wanted you to find. The display shifted to show vast underground complexes on Earth, clearly visible through Sarah's scanning technology. Massive industrial centers, research facilities, and what appeared to be population centers stretched across continents that Coalition surveys had declared completely dead. Earth isn't a dead world, it's a fortress world, Sarah continued. The surface appears lifeless because we designed it that way. Beneath the apparent wasteland, we've been building for 3 centuries. Our current population is approximately 47 billion. Elena's 4 hearts nearly stopped. 47 billion? But our scans show exactly what we programmed them to show, Sarah finished. Our biomatrix doesn't just preserve consciousness, Dr. Vasquez. It manufactures new bodies, raises new generations, and expands our capabilities exponentially. We've been growing stronger while you thought we were extinct. The revelation hit the chamber like a physical blow. The Coalition had been operating in humanity's solar system for 3 centuries, believing they were salvaging ruins and studying fossils. In reality, they had been watched, analyzed, and gradually integrated by a civilization that was not only alive but thriving beyond imagination. How many more ships do you have? General Corax asked, his voice hollow. Sarah's smile held no warmth. General, what you're seeing aren't ships. They're remote drones, controlled by the Earth Matrix. Our actual vessels are still hidden, but since you asked. The stellar map updated, showing new contacts throughout the system. Thousands became millions. The human fleet was so vast that Coalition forces were outnumbered 50,000 to 1. This is why we chose patience, Sarah explained. We could have eliminated the Coalition on your first day in our system. Instead, we decided to study you, understand you, and eventually improve you. We believe cooperation produces better results than conquest. Dr. Yeth was analyzing the new sensor data with growing amazement. The energy output from these vessels. You could glass entire planets. We could restructure entire star systems, Sarah corrected. But we won't need to, will we? Because you're all reasonable beings who understand that resistance would be futile and cooperation would be beneficial. Suddenly, new reports began flooding the chamber's communication systems. Emergency signals. From coalition worlds across the galaxy, dozens of them, then hundreds. What's happening? Chancellor Vex demanded, her crystalline form pulsing with alarm patterns. Sarah's expression remained serene. The awakening protocol has begun. You see, I wasn't the only human in cryosleep, and Earth wasn't the only world we prepared. The displays now showed images from across coalition space, human figures emerging from hidden installations on mining worlds, agricultural colonies, research stations. Each awakening human was surrounded by technology that had been dormant for centuries, but was now coming online. Every world the Coalition has colonized in the past 300 years was previously surveyed by human exploration teams. Sarah explained, "We left contingency protocols on thousands of planets, hidden deep beneath the surface, waiting for activation." Elena felt her breathing slits contract. How many? Approximately 10,000 sleeper installations across Coalition space. Each one contains between 50 and 500 human operatives, along with sufficient technology to establish local control. The scale was incomprehensible. While the Coalition believed they had been expanding across empty space, they had actually been building their civilization on top of a vast human network that spanned half the galaxy. The irony, Sarah continued, is that Coalition expansion has been guided by our recommendations for 3 centuries. Every suitable world you colonized was actually a world we had already prepared. Every strategic resource you discovered was a resource we had cataloged and designated for future use. General Korax slumped in his chair as the full implications became clear. You've been hurting us. Our entire expansion pattern was designed to serve humanity's long-term interests while providing the Coalition with sustainable growth. Sarah confirmed. We needed you to develop the galaxy's infrastructure while we perfected our integration technologies. Now that both goals are complete, it's time for the next phase. The displays updated again, showing Coalition fleets across dozens of star systems, suddenly surrounded by previously invisible human vessels. Not just ships' entire space habitats, and industrial complexes that had been hidden in plain sight for centuries. Every major Coalition military installation now has human assets in position, Sarah announced. Every government center, every trade hub, every strategic resource depot. The transition can happen peacefully, or it can happen forcibly. The choice belongs to you. Chancellor Vex was frantically attempting to contact her home government, but the communication channels were filled with the same reports. Humans emerging, technology activating, entire star systems revealing hidden populations that had been waiting in the shadows. This is impossible, Dr. Yeth whispered. The logistical requirements alone. The coordination needed across galactic distances. Quantum entanglement communication, Sarah replied. We've been in constant contact across the galaxy for centuries. Earth's awakening signal reached every human installation simultaneously. Elena stared at the overwhelming data streaming across the displays. Humanity hadn't just survived. They had turned their apparent extinction into the greatest strategic deception in galactic history. The Coalition had spent 3 centuries believing they were the galaxy's dominant civilization, while actually serving as unwitting infrastructure builders for humanity's return. What happens now? Elena asked quietly. Sarah's silver eyes focused on her with something approaching affection. Now, Dr. Vasquez, we begin the real work. The galaxy is vast, and there are threats out there that even humanity cannot face alone. We need partners, not subjects. The Coalition has proven its value through 3 centuries of successful expansion and development. She gestured to the assembled leaders. Join us willingly, and we'll share technologies that will transform your civilizations beyond recognition. Resist, and discover why humanity chose to become the galaxy's hidden guardian rather than its conqueror. The chamber fell silent as the representatives absorbed the magnitude of their situation. Humanity had revealed itself not as a single awakening survivor, but as a galaxy-spanning civilization that had been orchestrating events from the shadows for 3 centuries. Earth had indeed become a weapon, not one of destruction, but of transformation and integration on an unimaginable scale. The debate lasted 7 hours. Representatives from across coalition space argued through quantum communication links while their fleets remained surrounded by human vessels that could phase through reality itself. Some demanded resistance. Others pleaded for negotiation. A few suggested immediate surrender. Elena watched the proceedings with growing fascination. The coalition leaders were intelligent beings who understood mathematics, and the mathematics were simple. Resistance meant extinction. Cooperation meant evolution. Chancellor Vex was the first to break. The Calorian Republic formally requests terms for peaceful integration. General Corax slammed his fist on the table. You're surrendering to a single human. Sarah's silver eyes flickered with amusement. General, I haven't been a single human for quite some time. As she spoke, her voice multiplied into harmonies, dozens of voices speaking in perfect unison. I am the collective consciousness of Earth's biomatrix, speaking through this avatar. When you address me, you address 47 billion human minds working in coordination. The revelation sent another chill through the chamber. They hadn't been negotiating with an individual. They'd been speaking to an entire civilization that existed as a unified entity. The terms are simple, Sarah continued, her voice returning to singular form. The coalition maintains autonomy over internal affairs while accepting human oversight for galactic security matters. Your people keep their governments, their cultures, their identities. We simply ensure that galactic civilization develops in directions that benefit everyone. Dr. Yef leaned forward. What kind of oversight? Resource management to prevent ecological collapse, conflict resolution to avoid unnecessary wars, technological guidance to prevent civilizations from destroying themselves. Sarah's expression grew serious. The galaxy is not empty, leaders. There are threats in the void between stars, ancient civilizations that view organic life as a contamination too. Be cleansed. Humanity learned this during our early expansion. It's why we chose integration over conquest. Elena felt pieces clicking together. The great collapse. You didn't just fake your extinction to hide from us. You were hiding from something else. The Devourers, Sarah confirmed. Machine intelligences that consume entire star systems to fuel their expansion. They wiped out 17 civilizations in our local galactic arm before we developed countermeasures. The only reason they haven't found this sector is because we've been masking its energy signatures for 3 centuries. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't been playing an elaborate trick, they'd been protecting the galaxy while preparing for a threat that dwarfed any coalition military concern. How do we know you're telling the truth? General Corax demanded. Sarah gestured, and the display showed deep space sensor readings from the galactic rim. Massive energy signatures moved between star structures the size of planets, clearly artificial, heading slowly toward inhabited space. They'll reach the outer colonies in approximately 40 years, Sarah said quietly. The coalition's current technology couldn't slow them for 40 minutes. Our integrated capabilities give us a fighting chance, but only if the galaxy stands united. Chancellor Vex was studying the sensor data with growing alarm. These readings, they're real? Verified by human deep space monitoring stations for the past century. We've been preparing for their arrival while building the infrastructure needed to mount an effective defense. Sarah looked around the chamber. The coalition's expansion wasn't random. Every world you've colonized has strategic value for the coming war. Elena understood now. You've been building a fortress galaxy. "We've been building hope," Sarah corrected. "Alone, humanity could hide but not win. With the Coalition's resources and our technology combined, we can push the Devourers back and reclaim the lost sectors." The voting took another 3 hours. One by one, each Coalition member species agreed to the integration protocol. Even General Korax eventually voted in favor, swayed by footage of Devourer fleets consuming entire star systems. The transformation began immediately. Human advisors materialized on Coalition worlds, not as conquerors, but as teachers. Technologies that had been secretly enhancing Coalition equipment for decades were finally revealed and explained. Lifespans increased further. Diseases that had plagued entire species for millennia were eradicated within weeks. 6 months later, Elena stood on the observation deck of the new Titan Research Complex, watching human and Coalition engineers work together to upgrade the facility's defensive systems. The base was now a fortress capable of withstanding planetary bombardment, but it was also a university where 7 species shared knowledge freely. Sarah approached, her appearance subtly different. Her eyes were still silver, but now they held flecks of blue, green, and gold representing the other Coalition species that had begun voluntary integration with the human biomatrix. "How do you feel about the changes?" Sarah asked. Elena considered the question. Her own lifespan had been extended by centuries. Her research capabilities had been enhanced beyond anything she'd imagined possible. Most importantly, she was part of something larger, a galactic civilization preparing to face threats that span star systems. "I feel like we've grown up," Elena replied. "Like childhood is over and we're finally ready for what's really out there." Sarah smiled, and now the expression held depths that encompassed not just humanity, but the combined wisdom of 7 allied civilizations. That was always the plan. Humanity learned long ago that survival requires cooperation. We just had to teach the rest of the galaxy the same lesson. In the distance, Earth's surface gleamed with cities that spanned continents. The dead world had become the beating heart of a galactic alliance, pumping life and technology through quantum networks that connected thousands of star systems. Humanity had indeed become Earth's last weapon, not a tool of destruction, but an instrument of transformation that had turned a fragmented collection of species into something capable of facing the infinite darkness between the stars. The age of isolation was over. The age of unity had begun, and somewhere in the void, ancient enemies were about to discover that the galaxy they'd planned to devour had grown teeth. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.